With me is a very special guest. With me is the Foreign Minister of a very close friend of India, Cyprus. Welcome to WION, Your Excellency. Earlier today, you held talks with the Indian External Affairs Minister. So, starting with that question, what kind of conversations happened? What were the key outcomes? If you can briefly help us understand the outcomes.
Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation. Indeed, we had a very fruitful discussion today with the Minister. We took stock of the progress of the joint action plan that we have together initiated after the historic visit of Prime Minister Modi to Cyprus in June. And we focused on the various pillars that make part of that action plan, with defense, investment, trade, the maritime sector, culture, education, mobility of workers, tourism. So a vast array of subjects, and we identified the substantive progress that has taken place since the conclusion of the joint action plan in terms of the wording, and we also decided how to move forward in terms of further monitoring and creating those conditions necessary for achieving as much as possible and at the maximum potential that exists as regards the bilateral relation and all the aspects identified in that joint action plan.
How do you see Prime Minister Modi's visit to your country strengthening this relationship? We know that the Prime Minister visited your country earlier this year. In fact, that was his first foreign visit after the terror attack in India by the Pakistani trained terrorists and India's Operation Sindoor as well. So it was symbolic in many ways as well.
It was a historic visit for a number of reasons. First of all, it was a visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Cyprus after 23 years. So that on its own, I think, has a very important signaling as regards how we see the direction of the relation. Of course, it happened after the very serious incidents and events that you described. And anything we do in diplomacy always reflects on sending signals of one type or another. I'm not going to comment on the signaling as regards the Indian side and what they wanted to project, but I want to underline and underscore the fact that this has been a visit that created the necessary political momentum for us, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, to set up the joint action plan, to look how it has progressed, and in the meantime we have seen very dense activity in terms of visits, in terms of meetings between officials, chambers of commerce, and there is a lot planned ahead. So we believe that there is extra value that we have to make sure we take maximum advantage of at the bilateral level and on a number of sectors that we have included in the action plan.
Sir, let's now perhaps divide the various areas of cooperation. First and foremost, defense has become a new element in the relationship. If you can perhaps tell us what basically cooperation in defense, the announcement that was made during Prime Minister Modi's visit, means for the two countries. Is it about training? Is it about more exercises?
Training and exercises is one dimension. It's something that we believe will be beneficial for both sides for a number of reasons. Let me just make reference to one. Cyprus is situated in a region which is full of crisis. Very recently, we had to evacuate citizens of third countries through Cyprus. So the coordination in terms of the defense forces, the prior training, and joint training between them is always facilitative of such activity in the event of emergency and a crisis. Beyond that, we believe that there is also advantage to be taken in relation to the strategic positioning of Cyprus. We recently had the stationing of an Indian military vessel, a frigate, in Cyprus. So this is something we believe could become a more frequent event. We have been doing it with other friendly countries as well. The geostrategical position is such that allows for this kind of activity. Third, there is always the possibility of procurement in terms of military equipment that is being produced. Fourth, there could be some joint action and joint ventures, if you like, and common activity and collaboration in the production or the design or the testing or the implementation of various initiatives at the creation of defense material. And lastly, the European Union is heading towards its strategic defense autonomy with a huge boost in investment. Part of that investment, of course, is allocated to Cyprus as a member state. So it's, I believe, a very fertile ground for developing joint ventures and cooperations. To have cooperations, especially in the sector of the defense, it's essential that you have close, friendly relations. You cooperate in these sectors if you have an ally, a country you trust, a country with which you have also aspirations to develop the bilateral agenda at a different kind of level and with opportunities that are being there, especially as regards Cyprus, India.
So you mentioned procuring. Are you willing to procure defense equipments from India?
We are under occupation, a third of the island, for more than 50 years, 51 years. We are facing a Turkish occupying force of 40,000 troops in an attacking formation, with Turkey being a very strong and powerful military actor. So for us, it's an existential, there is an existential reason of making sure that we are doing rather whatever we can to defend ourselves. This is a fundamental right for every state. So procurement from any source that can be useful in terms of our mix, our defense mix, is something, of course, we are always on the lookout, and especially as regards countries with which we have a very strong relation and the aspiration to make it even stronger. So yes, defense is a sector, it's an area within which we could have common benefits arising also in terms of procurement.
So let's go to trade. How can Cyprus be a gateway for India when it comes to Europe? What's your sense when it comes to the India-European Union FTA as well? What's your position? And are you hopeful that it will be concluded by this year?
Three elements to the question. Let's start from the bilateral trade relation. Already there is a lot of activity. Activity that is not well known. For example, in terms of FDI, foreign direct investment to India from Cyprus, Cyprus is among the 10 largest investors in India, something around $15 billion from 2000 onwards, in an accumulative kind of way. So it's already, there is a lot of investment coming from Cyprus to India. At the same time, recently we had investment in terms of the maritime sector in big numbers, and we have more than 160 companies registered in Cyprus that are of Indian ownership or of India majority shareholding. So there is a lot of investment taking place already as we speak. At the same time, we always try and expand this. We see sectors upon which we could have much more activity, especially in the maritime sector, especially in new technology. The financial technology sector for us is something around 17–18% of the GDP of the economy right now, so it's growing. Maritime sector, we have the 11th largest commercial fleet in the world. So there are opportunities there, we believe, as a springboard. Cyprus can be a springboard for doing business with Europe and with the Middle East and the Gulf as well. So it's a natural progression of a very strong economy that is performing much better than the average of the European Union. We're at the top tier. And also, there is a strong opportunity there for expanding the already strong investment activity with India. All of that will be magnified as soon as you have the free trade agreement between the EU and India. And we believe that this is an agreement that is in the mutual benefit of both sides. So Cyprus is fully supportive of the conclusion of the negotiations with a positive outcome. The target of concluding before the end of the year has been set by the two negotiating parties. Cyprus, as the incoming presidency of the Council of the EU, will be fully supportive of that for that very reason, because it's going to be mutually beneficial for Europe and for India. India is the biggest trading, the EU is the biggest trading partner for India. It's a bigger investor in India, whereas India is the 9th trade partner for the European Union. And it's only 2% of the EU's GDP. That shows that there is a lot of space for growing further the relations. So Cyprus will be fully supported because we believe this is in the benefit of both the European Union, its member states, and India as well.
From trade to connectivity, here in this city where you are in Delhi in 2023, there was an announcement of the India, Middle East, Europe corridor, but it has been 2 years. It is not progressing as it should have been, primarily because of the conflict in West Asia. How hopeful you are that it can get that pace, and what role Cyprus can play in that?
We believe that in the current geopolitical uncertainty and with various activities happening in terms of sanctions, tariffs, in terms of the fluctuation of the situation at the investment and the trade level, the more connectivity we have, the more trade corridors we have, the better it is for everyone. So we are not seeing this as a competitive situation, we are seeing it as a complementary situation. And IMEC is a prime example of what the potential actually is. The regions, and it's a cross-region project from India to the Middle East to Europe through Cyprus because of geography and also for a very simple reason. You cannot have any chain in that, any chunk in that chain that in a way has very different outlook in terms of political perspective. And we want to make sure that we are part of that chain because we have excellent relations with all the participating countries, and also because of geography, and also because our economy is doing that well, and we are a financial center, and we are a service provider center, and because of the maritime sector. There are a number of reasons why Cyprus could and should be part of that. And let me clarify that this is not about a single entry point into the European continent. It could have more than that. I agree with you that the progress has been slow since the declaration. There have been very serious situations that have affected that with the war in Gaza and so on and so forth. But I believe that right now is the moment to increase and intensify the effort and making this become a concrete plan. At the planning stage, Cyprus wants to be part of the conversation. We believe that for all the reasons that I mentioned, that we have something to add in that conversation. And the free trade agreement between the EU and India and other free trade agreements with other countries that could be part of that corridor, I believe would be providing the necessary impetus for reaching the point of putting the idea into a piece of paper and becoming a plan and then to its actualization.
So now moving to little geopolitical aspects of both the region, the Indian subcontinent and the Mediterranean. Now, earlier today, the Indian External Affairs Minister reiterated something that India has been doing when it comes to the territorial integrity of Cyprus, restating the UNSC resolution as well when it comes to the Cyprus question or the Cyprus problem. How do you see India's support to your country?
India has been a consistent, persistent, and principled supporter of Cyprus, but if I may say, not only Cyprus, this is about being a supporter of international law and the UN Charter. And it's all about making sure that what you declare in terms of rhetoric, it's actually being followed in terms of action. And India has been doing this from the very beginning. We are grateful for the principled stand of India as regards the Cyprus problem, a Cyprus problem which at its very core, it's a very simple issue. It's about invasion by an aggressor and continuing occupation of the territory of a sovereign country. A country that right now is a member state of the European Union, of the Commonwealth, of the UN. It will be assuming the presidency of the Council of the EU. So there can be no activity as regards countering this basic foundation of international law. And India, being a proponent of the basic principles that underpin the UN, has been consistent in that support. And we are deeply grateful for that. At the same time, for us, it's a very good and strong indication as to how the international system should be operating. And at some point when this discussion about the reform of the Security Council is to take place, we have the strong opinion as Cyprus and will be supporting the inclusion of India as a permanent member of the Security Council. And at the same time, we are supportive of Indian interests in various international fora and organizations. I understand it's going to be, they have the candidacy for COP33. Cyprus will be fully supportive of that. And at every opportunity, we are cooperating and collaborating with India at international fora, at the bilateral level, in various regional projects, especially as regards defense, economy, and so on.
So you mentioned about Turkey earlier in the interview. Was there any discussion today when it comes to Turkey between you and your counterpart? Because when it comes to Turkey and your relation, it is well known. India and Turkey relationship is very frosty because Turkish support to Pakistan when Pakistan attacked India. So what is your assessment about Turkey, and was there a discussion on Turkey?
If one takes for granted that we discuss projects of the magnitude like IMEC, of the bilateral relations in sectors like defense, and we start from the basic commitment to international law, including, of course, the law of the sea, and with Turkey challenging our sovereign rights as regards our exclusive economic zone and the exploitation of natural resources that exist in our economic zone, plus the continuing occupation of part of the island. All this, of course, for us, it's an everyday situation. Every day in anything we do, we have a very dark shadow over us at the diplomatic front. So yes, Turkey is always a factor in what we are doing. It's always a concern. It's always something we need to take into consideration. But that being said, of course, our relation with India, the plan we have put together, our ambition, joint ambition, exceeds by far the activity of any spoiler or anyone who wants to operate in any different way. It's a relation that has its own deep value between India and Cyprus. Third parties could have objections, could have their own opinions and views about it. At the end of the day, what matters is what the two countries and their leaderships think, how they act upon that thinking.
So earlier this year, the Pakistani Prime Minister met the Turkish President and extended the support over the so-called Turkish Republic, the area which is in the northern part of Cyprus. Plans of recognition as well, something that only Turkey recognizes. What's your view about the Pakistani plans of extending support to this area which has a backing of Turkey?
For us, it's a very simple equation. It doesn't refer to Pakistan in specific. It refers to every member of the international community. The UN Security Council has a bundle of resolutions clearly identifying the illegal secessionist entity in the occupied part of the island as something that we should not even have any kind of contact with in accordance with the Security Council resolutions of the UN. Therefore, for us, it's a very clear mandate for anyone who is participating in the international community, who is actively a member of that community. This is the path, this is the only way forward. We every day try and make sure that this message is being communicated to any party who could be in any way progressing or thinking or acting in a way that would try and dismantle the foundation of the UN Charter. And the Cyprus problem, being an act of invasion, aggression, and occupation, goes at the very heart of the organization we call the United Nations. So, yes, for us, it's a daily struggle, it's a daily effort. The message is clear. We try and project this message also through the European Union, because anything happening in relation to the member states, by definition and by extension, of course, becomes an issue in relation to the European Union. Therefore, yes, we are always concerned about anyone in general who could be trying to have more contacts with the illegal entity, but at the end of the day, the status of the entity has been determined by the international community, and we continue to press that message to everyone who wants to hear and everyone who needs to hear that clear message.
a clear message. But for India, one issue that dominated, that was the issue of cross-border terrorism. Your country was, in fact, among the first and perhaps the first in European Union to not only stand with India but condemn the Pahalgam terror attack. After that, the focus has been on sharing of intelligence when it comes to counter-terror cooperation. What kind of counter-terror cooperation that exists between the two countries, or you're looking forward to it?
Let me start by expressing our clear solidarity again in public towards India about the terrorist attacks. We have a very clear position on this. It's a general, horizontal position. Terrorism cannot be tolerated, and there is no excuse for terrorism. At the same time, the terrorists per se and those that are supporting or financing the terrorists cannot be separated or distinguished. So this is a very basic premise that applies to any situation. As regards now cooperation in the security services, intelligence services and so on, I mean, you can understand this is not something that one can publicly comment upon, but if countries share the basic values, if countries share the ambition of strategic partnership like Cyprus and India, then that partnership, of course, will naturally extend at all levels and especially at the critical levels. Cyprus faces dangers, India is facing challenges, we are partners, so therefore I think it's only natural that we have a closer cooperation at all possible fields.
So my last question to you, you will be the president of the EU Council presidency starting next year, 1st January, 6 months. What will be your focus like in terms of bringing stability to the Mediterranean region, and also your focus on making sure that the EU and India come closer?
Let's start with the last part of the question. We have the negotiations for the FTA. I think this is a critical element of the relation between the EU and India. And as I said earlier, Cyprus will be fully supportive of the progress in terms of the negotiations, of the contacts. My president has extended a formal invitation to the Prime Minister to attend the EU summit that is going to take place in Cyprus with all the leaders of the member states and the leadership of the institutions of the Union. I have extended a formal invitation, I have extended an invitation to my counterpart for attending the GIMNI, which is the Informal Foreign Affairs Council. All the member states, ministers of foreign affairs are attending. So for us, the political signaling towards Europe and towards India is very clear. We have the space to select guests, and for us, India is a natural invitee at all levels, not only because we have a very strong bilateral relation, but because we believe that the relation between the EU and India is for the interest, the geopolitical interest, the economic interest of both sides. So the presidency will be focusing also on how we can expand relations with the Middle East and especially the Gulf countries. Again, there are solid financial grounds for doing that. So the attention will be focusing on that, not only on the crisis in the region, but also at the potential. And of course, naturally, any presidency of the EU has to start and maintain the focus on the ongoing situation in Ukraine with the Russian aggression and invasion. For Cyprus, this is even more the case for the reasons I mentioned earlier, meaning there is a clear parallel with what we are experiencing. So the EU is right now focusing on Ukraine. That focus will remain. Our presidency will try to add to the focus without in any way or form moving away from the critical issue, which is Ukraine. All of this is part of the planning. We'll be inheriting a number of important files relating to the financial organization and forward planning of the European Union, which is a very important issue. We'll be focusing on maritime for reasons that relate also to Cyprus. So it's going to be a hectic period of activity, diplomatic activity, negotiations, acting as a facilitator, as an honest broker. In all of that, every country that has a presidency, especially smaller countries that want to make the maximum of the opportunity, you want to add your personal, if you like, your country kind of spin and outlook in all the critical issues. And for us, India is going to be part our planning and our president.
One additional question. The Prime Minister was here. So can we expect your president, who is a close friend of the Indian Prime Minister, but obviously with the people of India as well, his visit to India next year, and in your presidency, in fact?
This is something, of course, that the two leaders have already discussed. It's something we are working towards. It's now a matter of scheduling, and I'm sure quite soon we will have the opportunity to visit again India, this time with my president. The relationship is such that I believe it's only a natural next step. And we're looking forward to that materializing and actually happening.
On that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It was lovely speaking to you and getting to understand where this relationship is going, which is going very fast. We saw the Prime Minister's visit, your visit, and perhaps your President's visit next year. Thank you so much, sir.